Welcome into the show, everybody. Mark Farzetta with you. It's the Farzy Show, presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Say it ain't so with our 10-9-8 76ers. In their 8-game win streak snapped last night at the hands of the Chicago Bulls. I would venture to say the most hideous game I've seen from James Harden. I mean, the assists were there, but God, his ball handling was terrible. Turnovers were terrible. It was so sloppy, and never have I seen the first maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes of a game be so indicative as to the way the rest of the game was going to play out. Sixers couldn't buy a bucket for the first 2 minutes of that game, and they were hoisting shots. They started something like 0 for their first 7, 0 for their first 5. It was just ugly, and they weren't good shots. Joel Embiid was missing from in the paint. It just didn't look good. They looked like a team returning from a road trip that was lethargic. That's what they looked like last night. And even when they started to get good shots off, they just weren't hitting them. They didn't really start turning it on until the second quarter, or until the second half. And watching this, Embiid turned it on before then, but everybody else, not so much. But watching this game progress, it was you started low and you didn't rise much higher after that. And I think the final score of a double overtime game is pretty indicative of that. So we'll talk about that coming up on the show today. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. The drama, ladies and gentlemen, the drama with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Now, we now have another national reporter coming out and seconding not only not the report, but the tweet that came out from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's agency about how the deal that the Eagles offered him over 3 years was heavily loaded on the back end. $17 million in the final year of a 3-year contract. That's not very fair for any player, and I wouldn't advise any player sign that type of contract, especially when you're coming off such a solid year, such a great year, such a transitional year for yourself, like CJGJ did for the Eagles last year coming over from the Saints. I wouldn't advise anyone to sign that deal. But another national reporter came out and not only offered that information and I guess confirmed the report, as people would say, but he also said that the Eagles had an opportunity to match the deal that the Detroit Lions, or at least beat by $1 million, that the Detroit Lions ended up giving CJGJ, and they opted not to do it. If you go in chronological order, that would be the Fletcher Cox deal, more so than to be anything with Darius Slay or be anything with James Bradbury. They originally offered Chauncey Gardner-Johnson a contract. Allegedly 3 years, $24 million, with 17 on that final year. Allegedly, when that was declined, they decided to pursue other options. At least that's the story that many are going with, and I think that's what makes the most sense. The idea of it being that backloaded is odd to me. Now, the Eagles did come out, and I think it was through John Clark of NBC Sports Philadelphia. He came out with a report saying that the numbers are a little misrepresented in the contract that was put out there by CJGJ's agent. Little misrepresented. What does that mean? Does that mean that they didn't offer him $17 million in the final year? Because that's not really what they denied. I think more so what they were denying was the order of all of this. That they came back and said, oh, yeah, do you want to match? It wasn't a matter of asking us if we wanted to match. At that point, we couldn't match, is pretty much what the Eagles were saying. They were already cash strapped. By the time they had already signed their free agents and retained who they had, they couldn't go back and offer anything to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to stay here in Philadelphia. That's the way, at least it's coming out right now from the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll get into that more as the show goes on today. We got the Phillies absolutely rolling in spring training right now. Rhys Hoskins, another home run. Alec Bowman, another home run. I really don't try to get – and we asked this question last year. I really try not to get all caught up in spring training numbers. And I remember asking the question last year, what means less? All right, what is the least value here? Okay, is it preseason numbers in football, or are they spring training numbers in baseball? What has the least amount of value right there? Okay, but I can't help it. I see Alec Boehm hitting bombs in spring training, and I think about how much they can impact the Phillies lineup into the season. With a guy that can hit for average, guy can get on base a little bit. His field play is what it is in the field, but at the plate, if we're talking about a guy that can hit you 20 to 30 home runs at the hot corner, Oh, that's a prototypical third baseman right there. That's the third baseman everybody's after. Oh, you need more pop out of your third baseman. I mean, I hate expressions like that because you don't hit home runs with your glove, but I know what people are saying. You want more pop out of that spot. If Alec Bohm can deliver the pop, if he can lay down the boom, we're going to be sitting pretty. We're going to be sitting pretty. If you're watching this, for the people on the podcast, sometimes if I'm producing the show, did I say this? I literally lose internet for a second there. And now my screen's frozen. Well, maybe that'll come back. But this is no better time to mention this than right now. So PJ is sick again today. So I'm now having all sorts of technical problems. But when my lips are moving ahead of my words, my audio, that generally means PJ is off. Unfortunately, he's a little bit under the weather. Hope to have him back soon. And I think we're up and running again. Hey, look at us doing things. That's fun. So, yeah, we got all that and more at the end. And speaking of PJ, World Baseball Classic, Japan walks it off. Shohei Ohtani scores the game-winning run. They walk it off against Mexico. Japan, USA, World Baseball Classic Championship tonight, 7:00 Eastern Time. Can't wait for tonight. I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. Let's start it off with our 76ers because last night was just an absolute ugly performance. It was horrendous. Turnovers, especially in the first half, were just bonkers. Couldn't keep a handle on the basketball. Sixers were struggling left and right. 19 total turnovers in the game. Compare that to the Bulls' 10, and that tells you a big difference there. But also the Sixers only shot 27% from beyond the arc, 42% from the field, which goes kind of hand in hand with what the Bulls were doing. But in the beginning of the game and then at the end of the game, it was just very sloppy. So sloppy, in fact, that when Tyrese Maxey drove the lane, essentially coast to coast, if you will, to tie the game and force overtime, and went up in the face of two defenders, Doc Rivers decided not to burn one of his timeouts, to call a play, draw it up, and actually put the guys out there on the court in some sort of organized fashion and said, you know what, Maxey's got the ball, to hell with it, let him go to the hoop and go after it, and he did, and ended up working out. Unfortunately, it didn't end up working out a little bit later. James Harden ended up having a turnover, I believe, in that first overtime period towards the end. That was a bit gut-wrenching there. And then James Harden also drove the lane and got blocked, and the ball was sent into, 10 rows into the seats. It was an ugly game. A double overtime game should go down in memory as like some great game. Oh, that game was incredible. Double overtime. Whatever they say, free basketball, when you talk about an overtime period, or in baseball when they talk about, free baseball, extra innings, whatever that's mentioned, you hope it's good. Last night I watched this game, and I'm like, oh, no, just let this game end. I mean, you can talk about all you want, how great defensively teams were playing, and Doc Rivers did get into that after the game. So, defensively, very happy with what we did. But offensively speaking, there was no rhythm to this. There was no rhyme or reason for what they were doing offensively. And they were ice cold. James Harden had 5 points last night, folks. After a night off, came back, 5 points. It was a hideous game. I'm going to run out of adjectives to describe how terrible this game was yesterday. But I never looked at a game that was double overtime. I was like, can I do this just end? And it's not even because it's kind of getting late. It's just because this is a bad brand of basketball. I am not enjoying this game. I like seeing Joel Embiid get over 30 points again. 10 straight games for Joel Embiid, advancing the Sixers record now of 30-plus points in 10 straight games now, which is it's incredible. Doc Rivers also gave a big vote of confidence. Joel Embiid is the MVP. Right now, that's a consolation prize. This is a team against the Bulls. This is a game against the Bulls. You're supposed to beat a team like this. And they weren't able to do that. It was like 5 guys playing one-on-one basketball is how last night's game felt. And James Harden, for as bad as he might have shot the ball last night, as non-aggressive as he was last night and tried to maybe force things a little bit late in the game, for as bad as he played, I mean, his assist totals were still good last night. He was still spreading the ball around, but everything else, it just put the Sixers in a really, really bad spot. And that was not enjoyable in the least to watch. So let's get into that overtime period. First off, you have Tyrese Maxey forcing the overtime period. He was the guy that really stepped up. Him. You also had D'Anthony Melton hit a number of big threes for you last night. I think he had 5 threes for you last night coming off the bench. 5 for 12 from beyond the arc. I mean, he was hitting shot after shot for you. That was great to see. Maxey stepped up big. Probably him and Melton were your 2 biggest guys to step up in light of Harden not being able to score the basketball like we're used to seeing him score the basketball. So that was all great. But in that overtime period, it was just more of the same. And the other thing that was funny was, as you're watching the Sixers struggle, you're watching a guy like DeMar DeRozan, who has made his living from 15 to 20-foot jumpers, that mid-range game, and he's done it consistently throughout his career to the tune of averaging over 20 points again this year for the Bulls. It was like Harden forgot who he was offensively when it came to scoring, and DeMar DeRozan forgot who he was. It was a weird thing. He had a wide-open 3 at the top of the key, I want to say towards the end of the fourth quarter. Wide open. Instead of shooting it and just letting it rip, and he's not a three-point shooter, he's going to take a mid-range shot. He stepped within the three-point line, shot it, missed it. He looked uncomfortable from the start. Then later in the first overtime period, he's got the ball at the foul line extended. He's covered. He's blanketed. I want to say it was by Melton at that point. He's absolutely blanketed at this point, and he jacks up a 3, covered as all heck, bricks it. Then he gets back to his game, starts driving the paint more, goes to the line a couple times, and was playing much more in control. You were seeing guys that don't really do what they were doing in this game. They were stepping out of their norm. They were stepping out of their comfort zone in a way. And I'm watching it unfold in front of me. I'm like, what I'm watching right now with James Harden is the same thing I'm watching with DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan, though, can fall back on 25 points to help his team win. James Harden, good assists, I guess. It was rough. I'm glad this game's over. I hope they don't have to face the Bulls for a while. Oh, wait, they got to face the Bulls tomorrow. It's not good. No bueno. Let's get into what he had to say after the game. This is your head coach, everybody's favorite, Doc Rivers, on what the Sixers did after the game in terms of trying to find that fluidity.
Awful. First half, I didn't think we trust the pass. We've been passing the ball so well. Showed a video today of all passes. There were so many plays where guys driving the middle, just, flow pass. It was there all night. And we were trying to get in the paint and make plays, and they were just digging stuff out. So we did it a little bit better in the second half. I thought the ball moved a little bit better, but never found that rhythm the entire game. Ball stuck all night, late in the clock the entire night. So that was disappointing.
And it should be disappointing because this team has moved the ball phenomenally well all season long. I mean, phenomenally well. Whether it's Tyrese Maxey stepping up in the assist role, whether it's Tobias Harris stepping up in that role. Obviously, James Harden is the king of the castle when it comes to the assist game for the Sixers. And it just lacked any type of flow. And when Doc Rivers was asked about, the problem, what was the problem in tonight's game? He said the passes, which you just heard right there, but then just the lack of execution. When you're trying to dial up things within the game, and you're trying to dial up things that you've practiced, and the rare opportunity to get to practice nowadays in the NBA, they just weren't there. And every time I think of that, I think of the old line, what do you think of your team's execution? I'm in favor of it. You know what I mean? It was... It's not the type of game you want to take a young player and say, here you go, son. Here's how you play basketball. Here you go, kids. This is how you play basketball. No, that was not a good example. More from Doc Rivers on last night's loss.
I did a little bit, but I still thought we could have won the game. Like, there's no excuses, especially for execution. You can be flat. You can miss shots. I thought defensively we hung in there. I thought we were really good defensively overall. Had some, some miscommunications, which you do all game. So I'll take our defense that we played all night. I can't live with the way we played offense. So we have to fix that. And that's every night. Like, you just got to be good on both ends. And I thought the balance of the game, we were good on one end, and that was the defensive end.
What he's saying in the beginning of there, it was awful in terms of, in terms of they did a little bit. He's talking about the schedule, talking about the Sixers schedule last night coming into the game. And I got to be honest with you. I know a lot of times people will talk about Doc's comment, and I've talked about it, about how it was a scheduled loss. when you look at this game for the Sixers in particular, I was looking at DraftKings before the game, and I'm just I like to throw a couple of bucks on the game here and there, and just helps me pay attention with two young kids running around, right? So I'm looking at it, and I'm going, 8 points? Still 8 points? And I remember mentioning that to you guys before the game, or during yesterday's show, rather. And I'm like, I don't like the Sixers covering 8 points. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, all right, at Cleveland, at Charlotte, at Indy, they've won 8 in a row. James Harden I remember thinking James Harden might go off tonight after having 2 nights off in a row because he didn't play in the Pacers game. And I remember thinking, maybe. And I didn't roll on that. I didn't roll on the Sixers winning this game. I didn't roll on the Sixers. I didn't roll on the money line. I didn't roll on them when it came to covering the spread, obviously. I just didn't have a good feeling about this game. I thought they'd pull it out. I thought they'd eke out a win. And obviously that wasn't the case. So I didn't like touching this game. But I did touch Joel Embiid's over 30, which I told you to yesterday as well. And that's probably the surest bet you could look at right now in the NBA. But the Sixers right now in a bit of a tight spot. Coming out of that game, hope to reestablish some momentum going back into Chicago now. Chicago, Golden State, and then Phoenix, and then Denver. So the next 4 games, all on the road, all 9:30, 8 o'clock in Chicago, then 10 o'clock, 9:30 in Denver. So that's what you're looking at right now for the Sixers schedule, for the remaining schedule of this road trip. And yeah, of course, as soon as I start to feel cocky about a 10-3 team after the All-Star break, now they're 10-4. So that's where they're at right now, and a half game behind the Celtics in the Eastern Conference for the Eastern Conference standings. So that's where we're at right now with the 76ers. Absolutely ugly. Absolutely hideous. You know what I think kind of got ugly? This Chauncey Gardner-Johnson deal. Perfect segue for the Eagles. And the Eagles did sign a safety. We'll get into that in a second. But we saw the reports that came out, and I laid them out for you earlier about the backloaded deal and all that jazz, okay? On the NFL Network, Jim Trotter was being asked about this deal with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And this is where he shed a little bit more light. Maybe you've seen this on social media, maybe you haven't. This is a little bit of a further breakdown as to what went down between the Eagles and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
I understand it's a depressed market, but from this standpoint, I'm surprised as well how the Eagles handled this. Number one, they offered him a 3-year backloaded contract for a maximum of $24 million, and 17 plus million of that was in year 3. So why would CJ Gardner-Johnson take that? But I'll say this to you. This speaks to the value they placed on the player. The Eagles were given an opportunity to match that 1-year, $8 million offer to Gardner-Johnson, and they declined. So clearly he did not fit into their plans, which is shocking because this is one of the more talented young safeties in the game today.
And he is. There's no denying that. I think we can all agree with that. But there you hear him talk about the $17 million. I don't know if he's getting that himself from a source or if he's just going off what he saw on Twitter, if he even talked to anybody with the Eagles to see what they had to say about it. But then the other part of it is the opportunity to sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson after the Detroit Lions had already made their offer. At that point, I do think, yes, signing the free agents that you wanted to keep, already happening after he declined your offer, okay. That makes sense. That you're going to move on after he said no, okay. But if he's coming back to you after you've spent a whole lot of money, then yeah, that doesn't make sense. If the Eagles are saying, yeah, what are we going to do now? We can't sign you. We gave you what we thought we could give you, and now you said no, and now you're coming back to us. We spent the money. The money's not there anymore. Oh, and by the way, we got to sign this quarterback over here. It's pretty damn good in Jalen Hurts. So not happening. So I want more details on that to come out in the coming days. But then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson did us all a favor and stepped to a microphone. After tweets about Jonathan Gannon not putting the Eagles in a great position, after retweeting or quoting tweets that had him in other jerseys during the negotiation period, saying the disrespect is real, really kind of going in on the Eagles organization. He said, no, you got me all wrong. It's got nothing to do with the Eagles organization. We're a family. Here's Chauncey Gardner-Johnson addressing the media as a member now of the Detroit Lions.
I'm not disappointed. Went to Super Bowl. Obviously we didn't win it, but the experience I had, I don't have no bad blood. I mean, people overreacted with a tweet and free agency, but it was never disrespectful towards organization. Organization treats me like family. It's just you gotta do what's best for your family.
I don't believe anything you say. First off, it wasn't disrespect to the organization. You're calling out their defensive coordinator that that their head coach loved. You're calling out a defensive coordinator who according to reports, the Eagles were willing to give head coaching money to stay as their defensive coordinator. Nick Sirianni literally did a monologue on how wonderful Jonathan Gannon is as a defensive coordinator after the NFC Championship game. And then you go out and you start retweeting, quote tweeting about, being in other teams' jerseys, talking about how disrespect is real. You're not tight-lipped. Look, I'm not saying it had a lot to do with it, but I am saying it had something to do with it. The minute he turned down your deal, and it could have been a backhanded compliment. Let's live in the world for a second where the $17 million at the end of the contract is real. Because I don't believe that's real. To me, the ultimate smoking gun that makes it not real is the idea of why were you going to pay a safety $17 million when you're going to be in year 2 of Jalen Hurts' new contract? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why am I backloading that so much? That doesn't make any sense. I thought, at least I'm going to make that $17 million anyway. Well, then he absolutely knows that is too much, way too much, along the lines of what so many NFL teams do with backloaded contracts. If it was like $10 million in the final year, that would make more sense. But the idea of $17 million, no, that doesn't make any damn sense. That's way too obvious for what you're trying to do if you're the Philadelphia Eagles front office. And I think Howie Roseman is way too smart to make it that obvious if you're trying to pull a fast one on a player. So that doesn't make any sense to me. But let's live in the world that's the case, okay? So you come up to the bargaining table, all right, and you say, they're going to be $17 million, and they're going to put that out of the way. Yeah, no way. You're not even making a serious offer then. I would qualify that as not a serious offer by the Eagles. And I do think they made a serious offer. And how do I know that? Well, I'll tell you. The proof is in the pudding. Look at the money they gave James Bradbury. Look at the money they gave Darius Slay. Look at the money they gave Fletcher Cox. All right. They're willing to spend the money. They're willing to give money now, this year. Look at the 1-year deal for Jason Kelce, the 1-year deal for Brandon Graham, the 1-year deal for Fletcher Cox. And you mean to tell me of all the guys they weren't going to give money to up front in the early goings of a contract was a guy that was supposedly their number one priority going into the offseason? It makes no sense to me. So I know that's what came out there on the NFL Network. I know that's what's put out there by his agency. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. That does not make any sense to me whatsoever. The only way it would make sense if the Eagles actually never had him as their first priority to bring back in free agency. Everyone was saying going in, that's their number one guy. You didn't even think Darius Slay was going to be back, yet they worked out a deal to have him back. It just doesn't make any damn sense, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't make any damn sense. The Eagles did make an acquisition at the safety position. And for the record, I'm going to miss Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Let me just say this. All right. I think he's very entertaining. First and foremost, most important thing, I think he's a very good football player. I think he's a very versatile football player. I went on a little tangent about that yesterday. But I'm going to miss him. And then I also think he's wildly entertaining off the field as well, at the microphone. I think he's wildly entertaining. And one more thing I want to call him out on there. He talks about the organization's a family. It's like a family. Got to do what's best for your family. Those are two different families you're talking about there. Two different. And first off, when he's talking about the organization, I don't even think he's talking about the organization as in the front office. I think what he's talking about is the organization as in his teammates. That's what I think he's talking about as far as a family goes. And if you didn't see this, I also thought this was interesting. A.J. Brown tweeted out, you can't be mad at a guy for doing what he thinks is best for him and his family. A.J. Brown tweeted it out 2 days ago. You can't be mad at a guy for doing what he thinks is best for his family. You can't be mad at a guy for doing what he thinks. That he thinks there, yes, I could be reading into this wildly. But the he thinks part of that Could be, babe, what am I going to do? Tell him he was wrong? This is what he feels he needs to do. He feels he can go out there and get that Jesse Bates money. Good luck to you. Didn't happen. Now you're playing for the Lions. Oh, the Lions had a good second half of the season. Lions got a head coach that'll bite your kneecaps off. Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's wonderful. That ain't the Eagles. And I know Chauncey Gardner-Johnson came out and he talked about how this team out there in Detroit might have more talent or reminds him a lot of the 2022 Eagles. And no, they don't. Can't be mad at the guy, though, for thinking his new team has as much talent as the 2022 Eagles. But, whatever. April rules. The Eagles did make a signing. Justin Evans looks like he is going to be signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. They agreed to terms yesterday. He's 27 years old, has more or less been out of football for 3 years, which is unfortunate because he's a former second-round pick. So he definitely had some talent there. And he was selected by the Buccaneers, played there for a couple years, was with the Saints for a year, and now has agreed to term with the Eagles. But a second-round pick in 2017 out of Texas A&M, and has just been dealing with injuries for the last 3 years, and he's more or less taken the time off football. He was waived most recently by the Buccaneers when he failed a physical. Excuse me, that was before he went to the Saints. Then he went to the Saints and signed a one-year deal before the 2022 season and ended up not playing for the Saints basically that season. So now he's with the Eagles. So let's look at this for a second here. The Eagles have now made 2 acquisitions that have had a lot of injury problems in their career. Rashad Penny, the running back who, as I've said, on the field, he's great, over 6 yards per carry. When he plays, that's pretty damn impressive. The only problem is he doesn't play that often. Now you're looking at a guy that they're rolling the dice on. This is not the replacement. I know that the timing of this is odd. This is not a replacement for CJGJ. This is not a replacement. Justin Evans is not a replacement. He's a body. He's a former second-round pick, high upside. That's all he is. The Eagles are not done. All right? It's not going to be Justin Evans versus Kayvon Wallace for the starting safety positions, opposite Reed Blankenship going into this season. The Eagles are going to continue to make moves. I think they are going to try to address this in a draft. They might even try to address this via trade. We don't know. Zach Berman has a report out there. They're still kicking the tires on some other guys, so we'll see if that's able to come into fruition. So we'll continue to follow the bouncing ball, but the Eagles are not done as far as I'm concerned. And as far as Howie's concerned, I don't think the Eagles are done either. Hey, folks, I mentioned the Phillies yesterday having a nice little spring training day. It was a 14-6 victory over the Baltimore Orioles in Clearwater, Florida. Like I mentioned, Rhys Hoskins had himself a day, 2 for 3, had a home run, 4 runs batted in. Alec Boehm, how about this one? Alec Boehm was 2 for 4 on the day. He's now hitting 267 in spring training. So he's continues to have himself a spring. Scott Kingery, 0 for 2 yesterday. He's now just hitting 371 in the spring. Come on, Scotty Too Hottie. Let's get it going here, pal. But Alec Boehm's spring, I do want to get into this for a second here because if you go by the spring, and I know Nick Castellanos hit another home run yesterday, so that's good. So if you go by the spring, Alec Boehm's going to have a great season, and Nick Castellanos is really going to struggle again. I don't want to go by spring because, as I said, the numbers, they don't mean too much, as we know. But if you look at Alec Boehm and what he has done so far this spring, he's got 4 home runs. He's one of 4 Phillies with at least 4 home runs. Derek Hall leads the pack with 5, and then Boehm, Hoskins, and Edmundo Sosa. Good old Eddie Sosa's got 4 home runs as well. In that group, Rhys Hoskins, listen to this, is batting .355 in the spring, while Sosa's batting .516 in 13 spring training games. Derek Hall is hitting .310, which is a great sign for him also. But Alec Boehm, 4 home runs, .267 batting average, .327 on base percentage. He's got 12 hits in 15 games, and he's got 4 doubles, leads the team in doubles. If you're getting a doubles hitter out of third base, if you're getting a home run hitter out of third base, and overall, most importantly, you're getting a slugging percentage leader in your third baseman, you're going to have a pretty damn good season. Defensively, you got to mention it, but it is what it is. But these are all just great signs right now that I'm seeing from a young guy, a number 3 overall pick, that might reach his full potential this year. It's spring. Regular season hasn't even started yet. Might be getting more opportunities to prove his full worth. But last year, you really saw it come together in the batter's box for Alec Bohm. Especially, I think it was after May, he really started to turn it on in the batter's box. June, July, August started to really show that he could be that big-time hitter again. 280 batting average last season with a 315 on-base percentage, just 13 home runs. Career high, sure. But when you're talking about power, when you're talking about pop, you see the swing this guy has. You put some more power behind it with the accidental weight gain, the accidental muscle build from Alec Bohm, and you could have a pretty special season on hand here. Throw that in the mix with Trey Turner. Not too bad. Kyle Schwarber. By the way, Kyle Schwarber in the World Baseball Classic going to be hitting off Hugh Darvish tomorrow night. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Last time he did that, what was it, 425 feet into the upper deck in San Diego during the NLDS? Was that what happened there? That was pretty fun. So we'll get into that. That'll be fun. But yeah, Alec Bohm going up with 4 home runs in the spring and adding power to his swing. That is just such a fluid, natural swing. I just want to see that continue to happen for Alec Bohm, the continued maturation and progression. And right now, at least it's a good sign. It's never a bad sign when someone's hitting bombs in spring training. That's really nice to see. Let me tell you about Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. For over 40 years, Steven Singer's been in the love business in Philadelphia, helping people get engaged and fall in love. So trust the man at the other corner of 8th and Walnut, Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price, the perfect price. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. How about the amazing people at Manscaped? Manscaped.com, where you can get 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped.com when you use promo code FARZI. You'll love their Platinum Package 4.0, which is their best hygiene bundle yet. Check them out at Manscaped.com. It includes their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, their Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, and they come with skin-safe technology that helps you reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. So go to Manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped.com. How about the amazing people at Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com. If you like CBD, you use CBD, you want to switch up your CBD, try Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. You'll enjoy the tropical tasting Bayox that clocks into the chart-topping 24.1%, and Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Genetics of these guys are off the charts. So try Freestone Farms, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Also, make sure you check out PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check, shall we? See how you beautiful people are doing on this fine day. April. Morning, April. Mark must be pushing buttons. Nice work, detective. Get better, PJ April. That's very nice. It's going to be such a great game. I can't wait. Here's what is so much fun about this. I outside of this circle, okay, folks, I hear how people don't care about this. Meaningless games and all that. And I've seen jokes about Mike Trout. If you think these games are meaningless, try playing for the Anaheim Angels, which I find hilarious. But you'll hear that, and then you watch the games. And first off, the crowds, man. The crowds, although not like all Joe Pro America, they root for Team Mexico, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Dominican, all that stuff. They're really into it, man. But the crowds have been incredible. Game 7 atmosphere, as they're elimination games, so you want to be expected, right? But then you also see the players and how much fun the players are having representing their country. That's awesome. I absolutely love it. And it dawned on me last night. And it's not just Trey Turner. It's Kyle Schwarber. It's Shohei Ohtani. It's Mike Trout. It's all these guys. They seem like they're having the time of their lives. And one thing dawned on me last night. It was like World Baseball Classic. And I'm like, look at this. The world is competing. And I'm like, if only there was more appropriate name for something. I don't know. World champion? Not the champions of the World Baseball Classic, but that's already stolen when we talk about how it's the World Series all the time. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it did dawn on me last night watching the game. It took that long. I'm rather thick. Anyway, but it was a lot of fun watching that game last night, and I'm excited for it as well. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? What's going on over chat checkers? What's going on? Ooh, Ray. James Harden looked old last night. Yes, he did. But I don't think he is old. Like, I don't think his age just caught up to him between Indianapolis and then flying here back home to play the Bulls. Yeah, I can see how you would say that. The handle wasn't there. Driving to the lane and just getting rejected as all hell. That was not a good look at the end of that game last night. I can see why you would say he looked old. He did. He looked old last night. But I don't think that that's it for James Harden. When you say somebody looks old, like, it implies that they might be done, and I don't think he's done by any means. But last night he certainly looked it, so I'm not going to disagree with anything there. But I will say, I still think we're going to get a better version of James Harden between now and whenever the Sixers playoff runs over. Sean, you dirty dog. Kevin, good morning, buddy. How are you? Nice to see you. Everyone's saying hello. That hairline is more faded than the Sixers were. That's funny. You guys are on point today. Well, not that you're ever not on point. You guys are always awesome. Mihai, what's up, Mihai? Nice to see you. Saying hello to everyone. That's cool. Those injury-prone players are concerning. Hopefully the roster will still have the next man up mentality. Well, they're going to need it if these guys stay in that same type of realm, which I don't think they will. Like I said, they're going to make upgrades. What's up, Northeast Sports? Nice to see you. Oh, yeah, I saw the player. I didn't really go crazy on it right there. Northeast Sports ratings for World Baseball have been great. They might end up doing this every year. Ugh. Now that would have me worried. As much as I enjoy it, one of the reasons I enjoyed it is because it's a rarity. It's not every day you're watching these guys play. But Northeast Sports, the ratings have been good. I did see that. But when I hear people talking about it, they're not talking about it in a high light. I'm not talking about this circle here because obviously we love it. We enjoy it. But everywhere else, I don't see it getting huge traction as far as conversation goes. We like it, especially because Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, and all that. But I don't see a lot of nice things, unfortunately. I don't. Yeah, I wish I saw more nice things. Let's put it that way. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. You guys are fantastic. Let's get to the Morning Rush, brought to you by Sky Motor Cars, skymotorcars.com. I want to tell you guys this. So, I don't know if anyone's going to the Flyers Wives Fight for Lives Carnival on Sunday, but yours truly will be in the dunk tank. That's right. I'll be making my second appearance in the Flyers Wives Carnival dunk tank. I did so about 3 years ago. I'll be back in it. I did it when I was a member of the Philadelphia Wings game day production staff. And now I am with them again as their PA announcer. It's my second year as their PA announcer. They asked me to go into the dunk tank for charities. And I said, yes, I will do it because I love helping charities. Now, the only thing is the world's changed a little bit in the last 3 years. Last time I did it, I could do the typical guy in the dunk tank trash talk to the people throwing. What's the problem nowadays? I can't say I can only be encouraging. Should I only encourage the people trying to dunk me into a tub of water, which I remember last time I looked down and it did not look clean. So do I say things like, good try, or that was an okay throw? Or do I go the other route? And I've seen some people do this on social media where they do something along the lines of like, you look like you call your mother back, stuff like that. That's like actually encouraging and complimentary. You look like you don't cancel plans at the last moment. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Maybe that's the way I'll go. But anyway, buy tickets, be there, support charity, and try to dunk me in a thing. So there you go. Sixers back at it tomorrow night against the Bulls, 8 o'clock in Chicago. Catch that game. Hopefully we see a younger version of James Harden in that one. Some Flyers news, both their game and also the son of Danny Briere has been charged, by the way, for the wheelchair incidents. In case you missed it, Carson Briere, the son of interim GM Danny Briere, who's only been waiting for this opportunity to be the Flyers GM for years now. Just the week he gets the title, his son does something ridiculously stupid. And he actually gets charges criminal mischief, criminal conspiracy to commit mischief, and disorderly conduct against Carson Briere, son of Danny Briere, for pushing the chair down the stairs. What an idiot. So that's where he's at right now for that unfortunate incident that he and his buddy caused. Full blame right there. But as for what's going to happen on the ice, the Flyers are back on the ice tonight against the Panthers. They're trying to bounce back from their 5-4 overtime loss to the Carolina Hurricanes. So that's what the Flyers got going on tonight. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you. Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, April. Thank Mark. Hell no, it's still in Philly. We expect trash talk. Okay, I appreciate that. I hear little toots. Must have got that lockup. Nah, I think she's just awake. I think mommy brought her down. Oh, here we go. Northeast Sports. World Baseball Classic. It's actually huge traction outside the U.S. and among U.S. fans. Most MLB players are imported from countries outside the U.S. Is it most MLB players? I wouldn't be shocked. But huge traction outside the U.S. I don't doubt that. That's why I'm talking about when I see the crowds there. It's not just the players being into it, but the crowds have just been insane. It's like a World Cup atmosphere. Go figure. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are awesome as per usual. Catch you guys tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have some better Eagles news than what we got today. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Hopefully also we have PJ back on point tomorrow. Let's hope. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. See ya.